Apparently, the sugar tax is going up. So if you go and... This isn't going to apply, as I understand it, to cafes. No. But if you go and buy a pre-packaged milkshake, latte, sugary drink, she's going to earn some money. And it could, I presume, cut obesity.
Well,
that's the health secretary's
the idea of the tax is actually to collect nothing. The idea of the tax is to change how those drinks are made. And when it was introduced by George Osborne, when he was podcaster, co-host with you, Ed, when he introduced it, when he was Chancellor, some manufacturers lowered the amount of sugar in their drinks so they didn't have to pay anything, so prices didn't go up. And that's the idea, that it was on fizzy drinks. Now, I think it's a good idea to put it to those... You know, it's not going to be your latte in a cafe or your milkshake in a ice cream bar. Yeah, it's going to be those you buy in packages, and it's a good idea, and the manufacturers will change it, because obesity is a huge problem. It's going to cost lives and the economy a fortune.
Yeah, there is an awful lot of sugar in those lattes.
More than people realise.
I stopped buying them when I read. I thought, how much?
Yeah, I know.
Staggering. It is staggering, actually. 6 or 7 teaspoons.
It's true just of orange juice. You have no idea. You think of orange juice. I always thought orange juice was healthy.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
I know, but it's...
Well, it's presented as one of your 5 a day.
Yeah,
you know, the government recommendation, 5 bits of fruit and veg. You can have orange juice or a drink.
Eat an orange.
One of
don't
them.
have the juice.
Let's talk about another increase, and that is the increase in the minimum wage. Great news if you're on the minimum wage and you're struggling with the cost of living. Possibly not great news if you're running a business, and as a result, you're going to have to put people's wages up, because presumably it's not just going to affect those on the minimum wage. Those people who are not on the minimum wage will also expect a pay rise as well.
And a lot of this is particularly for young people, and a lot of those work in the hospitality industry, pubs, restaurants, that sort of thing. And we know from the rise in VA in national insurance last year on employers and the increase in the living wage, 90,000 jobs disappeared in that sector. And the worry is already employers are saying, we haven't got the money. So pubs will have to pay their staff all this extra money, and in the budget, she's bound to whack them to with more duty on booze. But it's going to be another...
We don't know that yet,
I'd be amazed if we don't.
But it is important to make work pay. So people go to work, they get paid. We don't subsidise low pay through top-up benefits like universal credit. What's wrong with somebody getting paid just over 10 quid an hour?
No, absolutely.
I mean, that's it.
Totally deserving. It's the lowest paid, and you want to improve their wage and you want to improve their living standards. But the issue is going to be if it means that employers think, I'd rather not employ another person.
Or they don't replace someone when they leave.
Exactly.
There was somebody on ITV News last night running a cafe. She said, when somebody leaves, I won't replace them.
I've heard this argument for 25 plus years since the minimum wage was introduced. Well, and the Low Pay Commission, which is a body of experts who look at all the evidence. No, there will be some impact. You're quite right on the margins, but it's more important to make work pay so people want to go to work. There's a whole...
And it's worth going to work.
Yeah, there's a whole row over young people saying, I'd prefer to be a life on benefits rather than going to work. I think that's overstated, because most young people want to work. So you make work pay, and they will work.
But let me push back on this with you, Kevin. At the beginning of the minimum wage, there was always a lower rate for 18 to 21-year-olds, because the risk was that they'd get priced out of work if they had to be paid the same as somebody with 5-10 years' experience. And that was always what the Low Pay Commission recommended. In the last Labour manifesto, the manifesto said that we're going to equalise the youth rate and the main rate. That is why the youth rate is now going up by twice the amount, by 8.5%. The Resolution Foundation, which, as you know, a left-of-centre think tank, say that this rise is unnecessarily big and could make it harder for people in that age group to find a job. So the Resolution Foundation are saying that it may be too big and will cost jobs, and it is a reversal on the last 25 years of minimum wage practice.
The gap is, we'll see whether the Resolution Foundation are right or wrong, but the gap has been closing. When the minimum wage came in, the adult rate didn't apply until you were 25. It now applies to 21. There was no big increase in unemployment when that came down. It didn't price people out of work, because employers are not philanthropists. They're getting people because they need the hands, they need the effort, and the gap has been closing. There used to be a con on a very much lower apprenticeship rate, and there was one national sandwich chain, that designated new workers as sandwich architect trainees, so they could pay them less. No, you want get rid of those age gaps. So you go and do a job, you should get paid the same as the person next to you doing that job.
That is the argument. If you're doing the same job, get paid the same. But the reality is, if you're an employer and you've got an 18-year-old or a 28-year-old, and the 28-year-old has got 7 years of experience, and you have to pay them exactly the same, at that point you say, I'll take the person with experience. And the danger is, which is what the Resolution Foundation is saying, is that at this point, because it's a big rise, 8%, you do start to price people out.
It's double the rate of inflation. And these companies are under huge pressure on margins already because of the massive hike in national insurance last year and the increase in minimum wage last year. I think this could I get the motive, but I think it can have a perverse effect and actually cost more jobs.
Long term, this is going to be good. You want to make sure young people are into the labour market and are working, and you're more likely to do that if they're going to.
Resolution Foundation say, well, cost jobs for you.
If they're going to get.
And that's make it less likely.
Let's see.
No,
because I've heard these arguments time after time after time, and they, by and large, didn't prove to be true.
About the minimum wage, absolutely. But we know that for young people, it's very price sensitive.
Also,
I feel I've always been worried about this, about youth jobs. And, you know, the arguments we had back in 97, 98, should there be a youth minimum? Some people said, no, pay everybody the same. Actually, it was a gamble with young people's jobs.
It was overcautious when it was...
good to be cautious.
It was overcautious when it was introduced. Make work paid. You will get people into work.
We're going to scrap the two-child limit.
It also introduced by George Osborne.
Yeah, absolutely right, yeah. So you get extra money from the government now, if this goes through, and we think it's very likely in the budget, for your third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, whatever, children.
This is
it's going to help, it's going to lift people out of poverty.
This is the change the Chancellor told us a few months ago the country could not afford. That's what she said.
She's found the money.
And the economic situation has deteriorated, not got better.
So why has she done it?
Because she's got a massive revolt in her hands with Labour MPs, and she's got to throw some red meat off the table. Not crumbs off the table, red meat, and this is what they want, and that's what they're getting. That's why she's doing it. She'll say it's all about child poverty. It's to save her political skin. Because in the summer, she said we couldn't afford it. Where's the money come from?
Kevin, it's going to be popular with Labour MPs. It's going to be popular with people who are on universal credit, who have more than 2 children. Is it going to be popular generally with the voting public, do you think?
No. It's going to take 500 to 600,000 children out of poverty. That will be popular. You ask people, and they say, of course, don't blame the kids for decisions of their parents to have them. If you just ask about benefits, people say, no, don't lift that cap. If you say, do you want to take kids out of poverty, they say yes. This is the single biggest way of taking a huge number of kids out of poverty. And that is how it has to be sold. It's got to be sold as a moral cause, but also economically and financially, it is better for the country as well as those children in the long run, because they'll do better at school and they'll become more productive adults in later years.
Just give you a flavour of what people have said to us this morning. Zoltan, the vast majority of people don't think the 2-child cap should be lifted, poor child benefit to be axed. So basically, us workers are going to now pay for your children. Paul means the benefit cap. John, what a terrible mistake it would be to lift the 2-child limit. Anne says, I do not believe that the 2-child cap should be lifted. If families cannot afford to feed and clothe, they should not have bigger families. Anne says, I chose to only have 2 children.
Yeah, and that would be the popular view, and it will be opposed by the Conservatives, and they'll get
the tough thing about this is that there's no doubt that polling is correct at the moment, that it is not supported by a majority of people. Although, as Kevin said a couple of days ago, if you ask the question in a different way, should Labour act on child poverty, then it does get support. But
that suggests there's only one way to act on child poverty.
Well, that is true. But the challenge for Rachel Reeves or Labour is this. In the 3rd and 4th year of this government, if they don't do this, child poverty is going to be rising every month by hundreds of thousands over a year. And people would turn around and say, this is supposed to be a Labour government and child poverty is rising. And the only way to act on this in this Parliament is to do this. You can't do it by investing for the long term. That takes too long. So their judgment is probably, if we don't do this now and take the hit, then we are going to be hit over the head about rising child poverty under a Labour government month after month after month.
She thought they were going to be hit over the head by Labour MPs. No. That's why this has been done. That's what this is.
No.
It's a political decision. That's why they've done it. Because if there was no money for this in the summer, where's it come from? She found it down the back of the sofa.
Well, I'm glad to say our mind has been changed on this, but the majority...
By the Labour revolt.
The majority...
By Good Morning Britain interviewing Gordon Brown?
Well, he was an incredibly powerful force in that interview. I watched it and I thought, that is the case for getting rid of this cap and taking kids out of poverty. Most of the kids, as he pointed out, who are in households and they're in poverty, have a working parent. And all those people who are saying, this shouldn't happen, you shouldn't have kids unless you can afford them, did they claim child benefit? Did they take child benefit? They were helped with their...
child benefit.
Never mind schooling.
Just on minimum wage, Glenn says, by all means increase the minimum living wage. Don't complain next year when the prices in supermarkets, hospitality, every service sector and unemployment all go up. The Chancellor needs to cut the cost of living.
And it will hit supermarkets, which is already... We've already seen inflation of food inflation is at 4.9%.
Do you think this will drive inflation up?
I do. And I think it will drive food inflation up, and that will hit your viewers the most.
I think climate change is a big driver of food inflation and production costs.
I thought they've got to not on that now, are they?
But it will be the more people have money in their pockets to buy stuff.
Well, big supermarkets are making a fortune.
We wondered, didn't we, whether there might be... some help for households on energy bills because of what Peter Kyle told us this week. The Chancellor expected to announce a significant cut in household energy paid for by removing, Ed Miliband better close his ears, a number of green levies currently placed on bills.
For that.
I think you might have been fighting this quite hard in the last few days.
Reducing the money consumers pay for energy efficiency measures in poorer households that will now be paid for out of the government's £13 billion existing Warm Homes Fund. Right, well, when people say help us on the cost of living, this is helping people on the cost of living.
I think it's very sensible, and I think these green taxes, levies are driving everybody crazy, and it, particularly as our contribution to global climate change is so minuscule.
And why is the Chancellor doing this one?
Because it's directly cost of living and it will put money back in people's pockets. It's really important. And I thought she might get rid of the VAT on fuel. Actually, that's what I thought she would do. But this will be popular because, unlike Maguire, people are sick to death of these green levies in their energy bills. Unlike Maguire.
Those levies have been used to insulate the homes of lower-income families to reduce their bills, so it helps with their cost of living. It's also been...
And she's cutting that warm front insulation programme, isn't she?
Yeah, and it's also been used to lower bills for low-income families to help them with the cost of living. And renewables is the way forward, so we're not fossil fuels hooked on gas and coal and petrol. But there are cost of living measures in there. Look, it's a budget overall. Taxes are going to go up, so there's going to be pain there. But there are... measures, freezing rail fares, freezing prescription charges in England. They're free in Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. But we still pay in England. All those will help people.
Do you think, Kevin, that there should have been a headline tax the rich policy? It's a Labour government. She's a Labour Chancellor. The mantra has always been those with the broadest shoulders should pay more.
She is going to do a mansion tax, we're told, which is going to mean that for the highest council tax bands, there will be a rise in the council tax, which will bring hundreds of millions of pounds.
But that won't happen until 2028.
Well, that is true.
What about Zach Polansky? Zach Polansky is doing all the hard yards at the moment on the left, I would say, in politics. He's on our programme this morning because he wants a 1% tax on wealth over £10 million and 2% over £1 billion. He said it would raise £14.5 billion a year.
He's running rings around Labour on the left.
He
really is. He's running rings. And when did the late Green Party last get so much publicity on the eve of a budget?
He's raising his own money because he's getting more and more members to the Green Party, earning more membership fees.
Are you backing his proposal?
No, I'm not backing his proposal at all.
It sounds like you were.
But I'm just saying, I'm absolutely sure, Ed. What I'm saying is he's got a gift for PR and the Green Party is punching way above its weight.
The trouble is, Kevin,
it's now overtaken the Liberal Democrats in the polls.
Isn't it?
I wouldn't argue against it. I'm in favour of a wealth tax.
Unless you're a billionaire, and there's so few billionaires, unless you're a billionaire, you're going to think, Yeah, why shouldn't billionaires pay more?
Well, I think
So, Kevin, you need to argue against this.
I'm not arguing against
Oh,
it.
are you a Green Party member?
No, but I'm
Defection alert!
Yes.
Defection alert!
I am in sympathy.
They probably don't want him.
With higher taxes on wealthier people and higher earners to make Britain a fairer place.
Yeah.
And I can see a wealth tax on assets, and it's UK patriotic millionaires who have been proposing this. And it's on assets over 10 million. So you keep your first 10 million and then you pay a small amount on the top of the 2%. And that 2%, well, if you've got 10 million, assets normally go up 5% a year. So you're still making money.
So you're making the case...
You might find an old lady somewhere living in a castle.
Yeah. You're making the case for a wealth tax that the Labour Chancellor is not. And Labour have to argue against the Green Party, who are making this very popular proposal.
You're quite right. And well, I'll let her argue against it. I'd argue for it. I'm with those who want higher taxes on
I think there were some
people.
Labour MPs outside Parliament with Zach Polansky yesterday. Labour MPs on the left of the party. You could ask him.
Well, we'll ask Zach Polansky that, and we will ask the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, Darren Jones, who joins us this morning.
He also says, Mr Polansky, he also says that the government is being cowed by the financial markets and it should just go out and borrow more and doesn't need to take these market constraints and seriously.
Well, if he wants a massive run on the pound in a financial crisis, fine.
That's his Achilles heel and his weak spot, and he doesn't seem...
We'll ask him about
that. I wish the UK bond markets didn't exist and didn't have so much clout.
To life.
But unfortunately, if you want to borrow money from them, they can...
in a market economy.
They can sweat you.
When we were talking a couple of weeks ago, we were being told by the Treasury that, in fact, the simpler thing to do for the Chancellor was just to say to everybody, we've all got to do our bit and have a rise in income tax. Would that have been a better decision for her to make today than all this complexity, or would that have been the wrong call?
It would politically, for the government, it would have been suicide. It would have been such a breach of the manifesto.
Breach of the manifesto.
No two ways about it. Complete breach. Coaching horses through it.
She's in a better place not doing what she was going to do.
Right. I just want to draw your attention to what the Prime Minister was doing yesterday. He was in a primary school and he had to make an apology. It was on Monday, I beg your pardon. That's my apology. Do you have any clue about what this 6-7 trend is? He says at the end, it wasn't me, miss, who started it.
It started it.
It's got a nice touch with kids like that. But when I was a kid, we used to talk about somebody had 6s and 7s, didn't know where they were. But 6-7 were young people like that. It doesn't seem to have any real meaning other than your...
It's a TikTok sensation, but I don't know what it means.
It's just sort of... It just means what you're doing.
I
all
asked
at
my youngest son.
Good.
He said it's absolute nonsense.
Yeah. Oh.
It's just a sign of nonsense on the internet spreading.
Right.
It really doesn't have any meaning whatsoever.
Which is why the teacher doesn't want the kids doing it.
But it's banned in that primary school, so the Prime Minister had to say, I'm so sorry, didn't start it. But it does seem to be taking off. These children absolutely love it. Every time someone says 6-7, and of course that little girl was saying, well, the page goes from 6 to 7, so 6-7, then you raise your hands like this.
And does it mean that I don't know what you're talking about, that's rubbish?
It doesn't mean anything at all.
Because we can start doing it
all the time.
When Kevin starts speaking, that's what we do.
I'll be like one of those little pandas you see in sort of Chinese restaurants. If I'm having to do you only go like that. Just
I'm sorry, Minister, that was not an answer to the question.
That's the way to do it.
We'll do that with Darren Jones to see how it goes down. Right, back to serious stuff. This is remarkable. For only a few court cases now, could there be a jury? You will be tried by 12 good men and true, your peers, on if you're only up for rape, murder, manslaughter, which means that for any other offence, it'll be a judge deciding on their own whether you are guilty. Now, if you were charged, God forbid, with a crime, would you want 12 jurors to be there, your peers, selected to decide,
12 different views, 12 different mindsets, as opposed to a legal mindset, which many judges are in. We've had the jury system principle was established in Magna Carta in 1215. 800 years of tradition. And David Lammy, who's proposing this, said as recently as 2020, the right to a jury trial is fundamental to the British law. It's astonishing Labour are going to do this.
They've had recommendations. David Gauke, the former Conservative Justice Secretary, Lord Leveson, who a very eminent judge, once had an inquiry into newspapers, which was a bit difficult for us. But nevertheless, they made some proposals to bring in intermediate courts which wouldn't have juries. But this seems to go far too far, because I think it should be your basic right if you're going to lose your liberty.
Kevin, it's not a proposal yet, is it? It's
No.
It's a leak of an internal memo.
I think it'll be pushed back and back and back. Look, we have magistrates' courts don't have juries. So you have various tribunals. I can see in complex fraud cases, you maybe want a judge and others. That's fine. But if you just say you were accused of assault and you could be sent to prison, I think you should be able to.
The trouble is, there's a backlog, and it is 78,000 cases.
But don't blame the jurist system on that.
So they're just trying to. The proposal is a
don't blame the jury
proposal
system
in a
for that.
memo, and they are just trying to find a way to get cases moving.
Yeah.
Because if you've been waiting for justice delayed is justice denied, and perhaps you would rather have your case heard rather than have it hanging over you.
You can be charged in
for years.
2025 and the court case won't happen until 2029. That is outrageous, but don't blame the jury system for this.
The complication for our new Justice Secretary, David Lammy, he's got to get this court backlog down, causing huge problems, by the way, in the whole asylum system. Because the courts are so clogged up, very hard to process all these asylum appeals, he'll be under huge pressure from Number 10 and the Home Office to sort out the courts. However, back in 2020, in the time of COVID, when it was argued that jury trials should be temporarily suspended, David Lammy, who at the time was the shadow Justice Secretary, tweeted, "Jury trials are a fundamental part of our democratic settlement. Criminal trials without juries are a bad idea." So, unfortunately, 5 years on...
Nothing's changed.
An awkward tweet.
Very awkward.
Well, that'll be the time David Lammy thought Donald Trump was a Ku Klux Klan racist instead of his best friend now. He took some positions in opposition. He's completely standing on his head in power. But jury trials are important. If you're going to lose your liberty, you should be judged by 12 men and women, true and good, who can decide on the facts.
And I'm sorry, the judiciary can have a group mindset thing. One person, one judge. You want 12 people to. They look at it from all different perspectives.